on a lovely Sunday morning in response to an email that I received. And I'm very grateful to the student who sent it, because it's something that's very important, and I'd like to respond both to that person individually through this video, but also to all of you as you prepare now in the next couple of weeks for D-Day Paper 1, which is, I think, Wednesday the 8th of June. So the email contained the following question or query. I was just looking at some of the discursive essay titles that have come up in the past years, and I'm a bit confused. How can you make a discursive essay on something that seemingly has no debate aspect to it? Like in the 2017 paper, it has the discursive essay on items that symbolize values. I don't understand how you could introduce a debate aspect into something like that. Do you pick controversial items, or is a discursive essay meant to be less debate, more reflection, with some persuasion? Now, you nailed it there in the last, I was going to say sentence, but obviously it's a question, okay? That's my fault when I copied and pasted it. That's what it is. It's reflection. There isn't a debate element in a discursive essay. Now, has to be really clear, and I have said it before. It's not like a speech where you're picking a side or you're told a side to pick. The statement in the discursive essay title is to be taken as fact. And what you're trying to do is offer an interesting analysis or a number of interesting observations built around that fact. So you're not asking, in the example you gave, as the aircraft fly overhead, this question isn't asking you whether or not there are items that symbolize values. It's asking you to select a number of items that you think do symbolize the values that we hold as a society. So in that kind of essay, we're looking for variety. So it could be, what would most people go for? Remember I said last year, boring, the old mobile phone straight away, okay? But there's lots of other things that one could own, or lots of other things that society has that, symbolize the values that we hold as individuals and the values that we hold as a society. So you could go from everything from, your local GA club jersey to, a memento left from a grandparent who has passed on, to the public art that we put on the streets of our towns and cities and our villages to commemorate important events or important people. There's a load of different things, and in a discursive essay, we're not looking for you to say, yes, I believe that items do symbolize values. You're just accepting, yes, that statement is true, and here's my kind of global view of that from looking at it from a number of perspectives. And if you look at the last 5 years, and don't forget the discursive essay title has been an option for the last 5 years. If you look at the last 5 years, you'll see exactly what I mean. 2022 says, identify some of the powerful voices in modern life and discuss their influence in society. That's not asking you whether or not there are voices in society that are powerful and have an influence. It's saying that those voices exist and they do have an influence, and it's asking you to discuss who they are and what their influence is, for good or for ill. We've done that work in class. We did a sample answer on that, and we talked about all of the different types of people and indeed organizations that you could talk about there. And what you're looking for, again, is that global perspective. You can talk about people who are hate-filled and populate the internet. You can talk about organizations like Amnesty International that promote human rights. You could talk about people like Greta Thunberg who try to bring an awareness of the environmental crisis that's facing us. You can talk about your teachers. You can talk about people who dictate education policy. There's loads of things you could say, but you're not debating whether or not there are voices that are influential. You're reflecting on the presence of those voices and the in that particular case, the influence they have. In 2021, it was on community. It wasn't asking you whether or not you believe community is meaningful and important. It's saying, the statement is that that community is important, that community has meaning, and it's asking for you to come up with 5 or 6 examples, 5 or 6 points to make in response to that statement. About how, and again, you're looking for that broad global view. So of course, that question leans towards the idea that community is something that's good because meaningful and important, suggestive of positivity. But of course, you could bring in the negative impact of communities when you have things like peer pressure, and you have things like exclusion from communities and so on and so forth. So these are the points you're making. You're not. It's not a debate. In response to your question, it's not a debate. It's a reflection from a number of different perspectives on the truth of the statement in the question. 2020, our change. This is one we did a model answer on in class, didn't we, guys? Our changing relationship with machines and the rise of artificial intelligence. It's not asking you whether or not you think our relationship with machines is changing. It's not asking you to debate whether or not you believe that artificial intelligence is on the rise. It's a statement of fact that artificial intelligence is on the rise and that our relationship with machines is changing, and it's asking you to write an interesting, original, thoughtful response to that statement, bringing in sources from lots of different areas to make your points. And that the other thing you have to remember about a discursive essay is not only is it not a debate, it's also not a personal essay. So while you can include and should include maybe 1 or 2 points from your own, in that particular case, personal experience of using interaction with machines of all different kinds, all different kinds, from aircraft, modes of transport, to utensils we use in our home, the smart home, to your phone, to Chat GPT, I think it's called, to Google Maps. There's a million different things you could talk about there, but it's not asking you whether or not you think our relationship with machines is changing. It's saying it is changing and asking for your response to that. Okay, so there's the 2019 question on items that symbolize values. I think you said 2017. I think it was 2019. And 2018, the discursive essay on leaders and leadership. Again, we did it again. It's not asking you to say, whether or not leaders and leadership are important. It's asking for your insights into leaders and into leadership as a kind of an abstract concept, and the impact leaders can have, and the importance of leadership in communities, both a macro and in a micro sense. So that's what a discursive essay is looking for. It's looking for you to look. It's going to give you some sort of statement. It's not asking you to agree with or disagree with the statement. It's asking you to reflect on that statement from a number of different perspectives. And that's why, again, as I've said to you in class, when you're preparing the discursive essay, to try to make sure that you include evidence taken from, your knowledge of current affairs, your knowledge of history, your knowledge of politics, besides your own personal experience. So I hope that answers that question. And again, thank you very much for sending it. Very, very useful and great to get that nailed down, because I wouldn't want you to make that mistake going into the exam.